Did I or didn't I lose weight this week? That's what you're here for, right? Well, I'll get to that in just a second. First, I would like to welcome you back to my channel, or if you're new here, I would like to welcome you. This is Adventures of Deanna, and I'm Deanna. If you like anything at all during this video, please give me a thumbs up. I want to talk a little bit about how I'm losing weight first. I am following the No BS weight loss course by Corinne Crabtree, and I listened to her podcast, Losing 100 Pounds. You can find a link to it in the description down below. The No BS weight loss course has 4 basic rules. Every day you make a 24-hour plan. You get 7 hours of sleep or more a night. Drink 64 plus ounces of water, and then you eat according to your hunger scale. So you eat whenever you're hungry and you stop whenever you're satisfied. So that is the program that I'm following. And this week for my weight loss, last week I weighed in at 234.6, and this week I weighed in at 233.6. So that is a loss of a pound for the week. Yay! Last week I stayed the same, but this week I lost a pound. So happy with myself. I have been doing really good for the month of April. April is actually the best month so far this year. In April, I lost 4.2 pounds. In January, I lost 3.2 pounds. In February, I lost 2.8 pounds. In March, I lost 1.4 pounds. So January was great, went downhill from there, and then April did great again. So I'm pretty proud of myself. I don't talk a lot about what I actually eat in these videos because it's pretty boring. I eat egg and toast and berries for breakfast, and then, protein and vegetables for lunch and dinner. It's pretty boring. I don't do a lot of meal plans or recipes because the food is pretty boring. But I do like to talk about the podcast, Losing 100 Pounds. This week, I was super excited whenever the podcast showed up on Friday morning, and it was episode 169, Self Sabotage, and I was thrilled because who here has ever self-sabotaged? I know that I have self-sabotaged in the past. It is something that I think that I still probably do to this day. So I was like, yes, please tell me how to stop doing that. And it was far more complicated than I can even begin to explain. So go ahead and give a listen to episode 169, Self Sabotage, and let me know in the comments what you thought about this episode, because I can't even repeat whatever I heard because it was crazy. But I think it came back down to one simple thing. Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're going to find a way to prove yourself right. So if you are thinking it is too hard, or I don't like doing this, or I can't, these are all limiting beliefs, and you're getting in your head and you're getting in your own way, and this is our self-sabotage. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are probably right. Yeah. Now, Corinne Crabtree, she's the person who does the No BS weight loss course. She also does a Facebook Live on Wednesdays, and then on Saturday it shows up in the podcast form. I like to listen to the podcast form. I'm not always there to do the Facebook Live, and I'm not really keen into looking back for the replays, so I just listen to it in podcast form. But the Facebook Live this week, it was about 3 myths that are stopping your weight loss. And I thought this was really interesting. And I think that this is something that can be up for debate depending on the way that you look at things. So let's go over the 3 myths and let me know what your thoughts are on the 3 diet myths that are stopping your weight loss in the comments. The first diet myth is if you miss a meal, you get to eat more later. So it's saying that if you miss a meal, those calories that you missed at lunchtime, you get to move those to dinner time. Well, if you are doing a calorie in, calorie out type diet, why couldn't you move those calories to dinner? If you're doing 1 meal a day, why can't you move those calories to later in the day? If you're doing intermittent fasting, why can't you move those calories to later in the day? It all depends on what your perspective is on this. With the program that we're doing, you eat when you're hungry and you stop when you're satisfied. Generally speaking, you're only going to need the same amount of food to put in your body in order to stop whenever you're satisfied. You're not going to need 3 times more food because you missed a meal. You might need a few more bites to feel more satisfied. You might need a little bit more, but typically your stomach only holds so much food, so you're not going to need more food to feel satisfied. That's what her thought process was on this. And I'm up for debate on this one. I don't know if I think that, that's a diet myth or not, that if you miss a meal, you get to eat more later. Is that a myth? I don't know. The second diet myth was we get hangry and we can't control it. Now, when she's talking about this, she kind of stopped at we get hangry, and she didn't go on to the and we can't control it part. I was like, wait, well, whoa. I know we get hangry. I just got hangry yesterday. I skipped breakfast. I did all this yard work. I was out mowing the lawn. I was spreading mulch. I ran to the store to get things for the yard. I was doing all the things, and I skipped breakfast. And by the time lunch came around, I was hangry. I was so hungry. I could have eaten anything. Like if you said that we have to go to the gas station and get a hot dog, and I'd be like, sure, that's what we're doing because I'm hungry and I don't care what I eat right now. I just want to eat. So I think hangry is true. I think hangry is true. But the thing that she said is, and we can't control it. Now that's true too. We can control being angry. We can control how we show up in the world. We can control if we're so very hungry. We don't have to get, I'm guilty of this, we don't have to get snappy at people. We don't have to be mean to people. We don't have to do those things. We can control it. We don't have to necessarily act all hangry. That's how we feel. And I understand that. So myth? I don't know. The third diet myth was eating by the clock. That we need to eat by the clock. Is that a diet myth that we need to eat by the clock? Now, I eat by the clock. I am like 8 o'clock, it's time for breakfast. Noon, it's time for lunch. 5 o'clock, a little bit thereafter, it's time for dinner. I eat by the clock. I make adjustments in my meals to make sure that they are just big enough to hold me over from breakfast to lunch. To make sure they hold me over from breakfast to lunch and then from lunch to dinner. I make sure that I do that. So this eating by the clock, I know that there are diets out there that say you need to eat every 2 to 3 hours. There's all kinds of diets. There's some diets that say don't eat between these hours, and there's diets that say eat all these hours. So what's the right way to do it? And if you're doing calories in, calories out, doesn't matter if you're eating by the clock, if you eat at specific times. It's up for debate. That's why you need to comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. I'll comment back. I think this is a fun thing to have a little conversation about, so I look forward to seeing what you have to say about these different items. That's it for my video this week. I look forward to seeing you next week. This is Deanna with Adventures of Deanna, and you know what? It's gonna be an adventure. See you next week.